Okay na guys, we're gonna debunk a debunker.
Kamatis analysis unit ang magbubulat, maiiwas ang iba, pakain nyo pa na mabulag, huling-huli ko ang mga...
Welcome back sa Kamatis Analysis Unit channel. No? Sorry nga pala kung medyo maingay sa background kasi tanghali ko to ginawa at binuksan ko yung aircon, medyo maingay. So, ngayon, meron kasing isang YouTuber na nag-react at well, pinost niya sa page niya as didebunk niya si Joyce Pring, no? And then someone actually sent me the link. Now I realize kung sino yung sinasabi ng mga followers ko or mga commenters na Kamatis, na nako-confuse kami na akala ko si Nico David. Akala ko they're just messing with me or something. Yung pala dahil Kamatis yung tawag niya sa mga viewers niya, no? Well, Kamatis din naman yung tawag sa mga viewers ko, but in different definition, which is very important later. Anyway, itong YouTuber na to ay sikat. May 300,000 followers. And then, doon sa link na kay Joyce Pring na video na ginawa niya, I commented. And then, yun pa yung isang point, no? When I commented, I invited him sa isang discussion. Dahil sabi naman niya na, you can debate me but be respectful. So, I asked him na magkaroon ng discussion about this. And then, he replied na sinasabi niya ito na yung last time na pag-uusapan niya yung topic na to unless Joyce Pring actually agreed na makausap siya, which is weird kasi kung meron mang gusto makausap si Joyce Pring, maybe si Wil yun, hindi rin si Nico David. Anyway, yun. So,
sinasabi ng tao, bakit daw ako nagko-comment tungkol dito? I mean, it's my freedom of speech. Kaya po ako nagko-comment dito. Okay, kasi it's publicly posted, yung opinion niya is up for public scrutiny.
Isa sa mga nangyari is doon sa first response niya sa akin, I actually replied, no? And then one of my followers told me na nawala yung comment ko, no?
Ang Kamatis, YouTuber, panggap na knowledge lover, educator, influencer, pero delete your filter ang ginagawa sa mga taong may brain teaser. Kamatis analysis unit ang...
So, hindi ko alam kung ano yung nangyari. Kumbaga, this is not new to me kasi yung reason ng pag-exist ng page ko is merong isang YouTuber na atheist, self-proclaimed atheist, na nag-delete din, nag-filter, and meron din mga nag-ignore. So, kaya nilagay ko yun sa kanta ko sa Kamatis Analysis Unit. So anyway, para hindi na to humaba. So ngayon, ang first issue na gusto ko i-point out, hindi ko na to gagawing comprehensive, no? Kasi there are a lot of things na kailangan i-unpack to sa sinabi ni Nico David. Pero kukunin ko lang yung points na sa sarili niyang bibig nang galing, na para makita niyo na unang-una, nagkaroon siya ng mga fallacious arguments and tsaka mga fallacies, no? Ang unang fallacy niyang ginawa is...
So yes, to answer your question, Joseph Modesto, is this about the Pascal's wager? Yes, it's definitely is about the Pascal's wager. The first thing na kailangan yung intindihin dito is yung Pascal's wager. Kasi ito yung tawag dito. Ito yung Pascal's wager. This is the ito yung format nito, hindi naman format. Ito yung hinugutan ko ng idea dito, or ito yung konsepto ng ating live for today, yung Pascal's wager na tinatawag. So what's the Pascal's wager?
This is what we call the fallacy of false analogy. Hindi ibig sabihin may narinig kang heaven and hell dito kay Pascal is parehas na siya ng argument ni Joyce. It's not. Okay? Hindi ibig sabihin meron kang similarity doon sa point na yon. I-attribute mo na sa buong na parehas sila. That's what the fallacy means, no? Hindi mo pwedeng gawin yun. Kumbaga, doon ka lang nag-focus. Kasi the difference is, in Pascal's wager, ang sinasabi ni Pascal is, we can neither prove God's existence nor disprove it. So, ang approach ni Pascal is a pragmatic one. Okay? Sinasabi niya is, kahit di ka maniwalang God exists, or naniniwalang God exists, you're under necessity to wager. So yun yung point. So he was trying to prove pragmatically. In Joyce's case, that's not what's happening. God's existence is already presupposed. Let's say it's an axiom, no? Axiom is just a statement to actually start the inference or the argument, even if there's no proof. That's the starting point. Okay? That's what it means. So ngayon, Nico David failed to actually make a point na parehas sila. Maybe that's the only thing na alam niya about theism and atheism or mga arguments sa God's existence, no? Maybe yun lang yung alam niya, kaya gusto niyang ipilit si Joyce sa loob ng Pascal's wager, which is not the case. Alright? It's not the case. Yun lang yung gusto kong una doon sa Pascal's wager na inattribute niya yung argument ni Joyce or presentation ni Joyce sa Pascal's wager. It's not the same. Okay? Big difference. Kasi dun sa katulad ng sinabi ko sa comment, ito nga, lagay ko rin yung comment. So, ang sinabi ko nga is, yung non-believer was defined in that video kay Joyce as those who don't believe in Jesus. Na kinlarify din naman ni Nico David, which is weird kasi different yung different yung application niya. So, okay na tayo dun sa false analogy, okay? So, punta na tayo kay Pascal muna na presentation niya. Okay, unang-una, he actually agreed. He granted yung payoff matrix, right? If you believe in God and there's God, infinite reward, right? If there's God and you don't believe in God, well, GG ka, sabi niya.
It is best according to the payoff matrix ni Blaise Pascal in the 16th century na maniwala ka na lang sa Panginoon kasi you have everything to gain believing in a God. You understand? Now, ngayon, tama naman siya. I mean, kita mo naman, pag hindi ka naniwala, GG ka. Kasi mas maraming mawawala sa'yo.
So anyway, panoorin nyo na lang kung ano yung presentation niya. So, ito yung ginawa niya. Ang ginawa niya is, ginrant niya yun, yung payoff matrix na yun. But at the same time, he actually tried to debunk it by saying na paano yung ibang religion.
It becomes paradoxical, mga kamatis, pag nalaman mo na hindi lang isang religion ang meron sa mundong ibabaw.
Yun yung point niya. Paano yung ibang religion na nagkamali si Pascal kasi hindi niya inacknowledge yung ibang religion. This is a stretch, actually. Kasi I don't think na he actually read yung paper, yung statements ni Pascal. Siguro dahil nakita niya na Pascal's wager, nakita niya yung idea and then it doesn't matter anymore. Alam niya na yung idea. So ngayon, challenge siya ng isang sa mga commenters niya na maging scientific, logical. Well, pati siya rin nagsabi na common sense, logical, and scientific, right?
Kasi may nagsabi sa comment section, gawin ko daw tong scientific. So, sabi ko, sure, why not? Madali lang yun para sa akin. Kasi
ang first argument niya against Pascal is may other religion na hindi acknowledge ni Pascal, which is stretch. A mathematician, a theologian, philosopher wouldn't make that rookie mistake. If only Nico David actually read the paper or kung yung sinulat ni Pascal, he wouldn't make that assumption. It's absurd. Yun yung una, no? How did he substantiate that? He unjustifiably accused Blaise Pascal for being a Christian, kaya siya nag-develop ng ganong argument.
The Blaise Pascal's wager becomes paradoxical kasi si Blaise Pascal himself is a Christian. So therefore, yung ideology or yung paniniwala ni Blaise Pascal is based on Christianity.
Pero hindi niya nakita yung reverse na baka it's also possible na dahil sa way of thinking niya is nagland siya sa Christianity. Kaya I actually commented na actually Blaise Pascal's point can be proven a priori. We can actually deduce it from reason alone. Kasi again, yung idea ni Pascal is a pragmatic one. Okay? It's a pragmatic framework. So in this video, I will prove to Nico David, pero hindi ko i-address lahat, no? Kasi magbibigay ako ng space for him to actually answer. So, after a week, if he doesn't answer, then I will make a part 2. So, okay. Ito yung issue, no? Unang-una, pragmatically speaking, yung argument ni Pascal is not about certainty. Okay? It's not about certainty na God exists or God doesn't exist. It's not about that kasi ang sabi niya sa paper niya, if God exists, He is infinite. infinitely incomprehensible sa atin, right? So, hindi natin siya maintindihan fully. Tapos, sisend ko yung, lalagay ko rin yung link kung saan nyo pwedeng mabasa yung, yung paper. So, hindi si Pascal nag-assume dahil Christian siya. No, it's not that. Unang-una, you can actually prove it a priori. So, how do we do it? Ang unang-unang refutation ni Nico David is may 10,000 religions. May 10,000 religions, then it becomes paradoxical. Right?
Mathematics. Now, it becomes paradoxical, mga kamatis, pag nalaman mo na hindi lang isang religion ang meron sa mundong ibabaw. So,
anong paradoxical ba yung sinasabi niya? Kasi there are three kinds of paradox, falsidical, veridical, and antinomy. Kaya ang pinakamahirap na paradox is yung antinomy. Pero the way he's presenting the paradox here is actually a falsidical one. No? It's a falsidical paradox. What does that mean? Well, it is only a paradox kasi meron ka doon sa arguments mo, may mga fallacies ka. May mga fallacies ka sa loob ng arguments mo. That's why it led you to an absurd conclusion or a paradoxical conclusion. Alright? Sa self-contradictory conclusion. That's the case do sa paradox na sinasabi ni Nico David. Kaya I'm really confused kasi parang favorite niyang term yung paradoxical. I don't know why, pero is he even aware na there are three kinds of paradox? And the paradox he's talking about here is just a paradox in his mind. Ang paradox dito is kasi may fallacy siya sa isip niya. That's why it led him to a false conclusion.
Different religion will have different dogma. What do I mean by that? Kasi ginugel ko kung ilan yung religion dito sa mundong ibabaw. According to Google, merong 10,000 distinct religions worldwide. So, ibig sabihin, yung 10,000 na yan would have a different version of God, di ba? Yung Christianity's God would be very different. Yung Islam God will be very different. Yung Hinduism God would be different. Yung Buddhism God would be different. And every other religion will have their Jesus Christ figure, will have their Muhammad figure, would have their Buddha figure, would have a Shiva figure. You understand what I'm trying to say here, mga kamati?
So, how do we fix that? Okay, ito lang ang hamon ko kay Nico David. I want him to substantiate yung 10,000 religions without double counting. What do I mean by that? Let's just imagine this. The government tax the citizens, the private sectors, tinatax ng government para sa sarili nilang funds, right? And then, the government uses that tax to actually spend on the economy and also dun sa mga government employees, right? So, here's the problem. The government employees are also taxed, right? So, kapag nilagay mo yung taxes, then it becomes a double counting. Double count mo yung taxes. Kasi galing na nga sa private sector, and then dadalhin mo sa government sector, and then sa government sector, may mga government employees, itatax mo rin, and then ilalagay mo rin sa taxation. So, it's double counting. Okay? So, how do I relate that with Nico David's point sa 10,000 religions? Okay, he was challenged to be scientific and logical here, no? Pero, sa first pa lang na question, he actually failed to be logical and scientific. Because just asking the question, you will know a person if he's logical. Okay, ang question niya is 10,000, pinakita niya pa yung link, right? 10,000 religions.
Teka lang, pakita natin yung para may visual aids kayo. So,
my challenge is substantiate those religions without double counting. Meaning, Islam, Sunni and Shiite. Okay? Are they both counted? Kasi they're talking about the same God, right? Allah. Alright? Are they counted do sa 10,000 religions or not? So, doon sa link niya mismo, like sa Taoism, walang consensus ng definition ng religion doon. So, like for example sa Taoism, there's a philosophical side and the religious side, right? But, because of the system of beliefs, the ethical framework, something like that, it is also considered as a religion, right? Kumbaga, yung religion, there can be a different religion talking about the same deity. Okay? That's the issue. So yung first method niya is mali na kagad. Okay? He failed to be scientific here and logical. And also this guy in Nico David's framework or way of thinking, this guy also believes God exists.
Ang mga spiritual guides ay mga advanced na kaluluwa na matatagpuan sa spiritual world aka fourth dimension kung saan nangyayari ang process ng reincarnation. Hindi lang sa physical existence mayroong uri ng classification.
Well, which I kinda agree. Pero next time na yun, I kinda agree. Pero I hope mga kamatis nakikita niyo yung point ko dito, no? Na follow niyo, no? The right question is not religion. You don't search for a religion. A scientist would know to ask the right question. Like for example, okay, how do we know that there's consciousness? Well, the first thing you have to ask is, what is consciousness? Because you cannot investigate it without a definition. We're not talking about absolute definition. In this context, we're talking about pragmatic definition. All right? It's a working definition in a sense. That's what it means. So ngayon, the right question is, okay, you start with observation, right? Okay, these are the gods, may gods ditong claim, for the square. Then, mapupunta tayo ngayon na parang, okay, since we observe na there are many God claims, how do we know what God means? Kasi, pragmatically speaking, kasi nga pragmatic framework tayo dahil kay Pascal, so pragmatically speaking, we can make a guess doon sa definition ng God, right? Kasi actually this is one of the weird things na ginawa ni Nico David sa video niya, no? Kasi sinabi niya may 10,000 religions, right? Sinabi niya rin maraming God claims, right?
So paano yung ibang religion na na naniniwala sa turo nila? So, ang sinasabi mo ba, Mr. Blaise Pascal, na yung Christianity lang, God lang ang paniniwalaan namin? Kasi yung Christian God, yung Islam God, yung Hindu God, and yung Buddhism God ay iba-iba. Lalo sa Hinduism, ang daming Diyos doon. They believe in polytheism na tinatawag. Marami yung Diyos nila. So, hindi lang isa ang Diyos doon. So, it becomes a conundrum dito. Kung sino yung paniniwalaan mong Diyos. Paano pa? Anong gagawin mo? Ang ibig lang sabihin ba, yung sayo lang ang tama?
Pero at the same time, he actually defined God. Or approximation of it. Right? Oh, ito tingnan niyo to.
So alam mo yon, I don't think that a supreme deity, 24 pesos galing kay YouTube, I don't think that a supreme deity with infinite wisdom and infinite knowledge would be discriminatory sa paniniwala mo. Kasi nga 'di ba, ano yan yung intellect niya is infinite. Ibig sabihin, kung infinite yung intellect niya, he can reason out any position na meron ka. He can justify everything na meron ka. So therefore, it doesn't matter what your belief is to a supreme being with infinite knowledge, 'di ba? Naiintindihan niyo ba yung yung thought process ko dito? Kasi
so maraming gods, it becomes paradoxical sa kanya, sabi niya. And then sinasabi niya ngayon na okay, God with infinite knowledge, right? Supreme being. Okay. So may dalawa tayong issue dito. Unang issue is nung sinabi niya maraming gods, what does he mean by God? For example, ay na pragmatic maxim. Si Kibuloy, sabi natin Kibuloy, he is God, sabi ng iba. Then, you disagreed. No, he's not God. So, meron tayong dalawang issue dito. The first one is, yung both ba na parties, they're actually agreeing on the definition of God, and they're just disagreeing na Kibuloy is God. Or, another possibility is, yung conception itong isa is different sa conception ng nagsasabing God si Kibuloy. Those are the two options. Alright? So ngayon, ano ba yung conception ni Nico David dito? Ang sinasabi niya ba is, iba yung conception niya ng God? Or ang sinasabi niya ba dito is, actually, I agree with the definition of God, I'm just disagreeing with it. So, let's test it. So sabi niya,
if the Blaise Pascal payoff matrix is to believe to be true, then all 10,000 religions is correct. Pero all of them have different teachings. So therefore, it's a paradoxical. Nagkagulo-gulo tayo. Bakit pa tayo kailangang maniwala kung tama naman pala tayo lahat? Bakit pa natin kailangan i-celebrate yan kung tama pala tayo lahat. So it's a paradox, mga kamatis. So, ang tanong mo, which God? Kasi according to our research, there are 10,000 distinct gods. I mean, yung top 4 na lang na religion sa mundong ibabaw has different versions of God. So which one is correct?
Maraming religions, maraming deities, right? Okay. Which is weird kasi sinabi niya rin na supreme being, infinite knowledge, etc.
I don't think that a supreme deity with infinite wisdom and infinite knowledge would be discriminatory sa paniniwala mo. Kasi nga, di ba, ano yan yung intellect niya is infinite. Ibig sabihin, kung infinite yung intellect niya, he can reason out any position na meron ka. He can justify everything na meron ka. So therefore, it doesn't matter what your belief is to a supreme being with infinite knowledge. Di ba? Naintindihan niyo ba yung yung thought process ko dito? Kasi
so, how do you reconcile those things? Hindi ba dapat ang gawin ni Nico David as a logical and scientific is remove the vagueness. Okay, let's define what God is. And he actually defined it. He actually defined it na yung conception niya ng God is same ng conception ng theism sa God. But hindi same ng conception, ng definition ng mga gods. Kasi hindi lahat ng gods is supreme being. Dapat ang sinearch ni Nico David is how many gods are there, not religions. Kasi may double counting sa religions eh. So, dahil may pinatunayan tayo na may double counting, then si Nico David is actually capitalizing on the vagueness of the inquiry. That's not good as a scientist, right?
Kasi may nagsabi sa comment section, gawin ko daw tong scientific. Sabi ko, sure, why not? Madali lang yun para sa akin. Kasi
that's not good. So, okay, how many gods are there? That's the right question, right? So, marami mga tanggal na gods, right? Marami mga tanggal na confusion. Kung naging balance lang siya sa thinking niya. Pero hindi yun yung nangyari. He just said a lot of things. Anyway, how do we solve it then? How do we solve it yung paradox sa isip ni Nico David? Kasi sabi niya, maraming God claims, right? 10,000 religions pa nga daw eh. And then at the same time, he's defining God as supreme being, infinite in knowledge, etc. How do we move from first degree of clearness to second degree of clearness? We define it, right? How do we define it? Well, pragmatically speaking, the way sa conception ni Nico David, and I actually agree with this, in this context, this is a pragmatic definition. Okay? God is a being than which no greater can be conceived. I don't know if he's going to disagree with that definition or kung may mag-disagree ba sa definition. If you're saying na, no, hindi ko sinasabing supreme being yung God, then I cannot do anything for you. I'm sorry. Because that's the conception of the term God with a capital G. Okay? Unang-una, creator. Maraming matanggal ka agad sa options niya. So, kahit i-grant natin yung 10,000 religions, ubos yun. Maraming matanggal doon. And then what? Infinite in knowledge. Are they all infinite in knowledge? Maraming matanggal, right? So, it's not an accident na ang majority ng population ay na-divide majority sa 3 major religions. Nagtataka ba kayo bakit? Because that's what reason demands. We can actually derive from the axiom na God is a being than which no greater can be conceived. Alright, then we use deduction. We use deduction to actually generate new information from that definition. Alright? From that definition, what more can we derive from it? Well, if God is the greatest being conceivable, then he must be all-powerful, right? Kasi that's a great-making property. Then, are all the gods all-powerful sa claim? Well, not all. Alright? Okay, good. Then, we continue with it with all good. Alright? Are they all good? No. Right? Maraming matanggal. And he will land without even appealing to any Bible or whatever or any religion. You just do it by reason. From the axiom na God is a being than which no greater can be conceived. Alright? Unless you disagree with that definition, then I cannot do anything for you. I'm sorry. Kasi if you mean by God is just revered man is a God, maraming ganyan sa history. So, we're not talking about the same thing. Yun yung moving from first degree of clearness sa second degree of clearness. Then the second degree to third degree of clearness, abductively speaking, we can create a hypothesis that explain yung gods, yung sinasabi niya, religions. Then we make arguments. Like for example, so we can posit the argument na, okay, it's either God sa definition ng God. We can actually derive as a new information from that definition. We can actually derive na it's either God possess some knowledge or God possess all knowledge. Right? Okay. Kung yun ang definition natin, mag-start muna tayo sa proof by contradiction. Okay, let's assume na God possesses some knowledge. Right? But there's a contradiction with the definition of God. Therefore, kung sino man yung pumasok do sa some knowledge, that's not God. Only dun sa all knowledge. That's how we do it. You can actually use modus tollens to actually remove lahat ng ibang God claims. You can actually do that. But yun lang yung gusto kong i-point out na you can actually prove a priori yung point ni Pascal. Kasi according to Pascal himself, kung nabasa nyo lang, na God is infinite in every respect. Right? Okay. Pareha sila halos ang definition ni Nico David, but the problem is si Nico David is in-entertain niya yung ibang gods na hindi supreme being. Kasi God must be a creator. Kasi if he's not the creator, then he's a creature. Right? It follows. So, yun yung hindi makita ni Nico David na kung naging balance lang siya. Kasi ganito no. Kasi kinoment ko sa kanya na if you actually compare all God theories in all religions, you will land on the Christian God. Or at least sa tatlong major God claims. The Christianity, Islam, Hinduism. So, okay, here's the issue. Sa Hinduism pa lang, kung maraming creator God doon, but doesn't possess yung ibang attributes, then hindi na kagad sila kasama. Wala tayong Bible na sinasabi dito na katulad nung accusation ni sa akin ni Nico David. So, we're just doing it by reason alone. Okay? Tsaka natin i-map out sa mga claims outside. Alright, marami na natanggal, no? Natira tayo sa three major religions, pragmatically. So, yun yung tinatawag nating God. When we're talking about God, that's what we mean by it. But, si Nico David capitalized on what? On the conflation of gods and God. There's no paradox. I don't know what he means by that. Is he talking about the technical term or not? Kasi kung yung mga religions, no, different yung conception. Paano nagkaroon ng paradox? Paradox means both claims are true but contradictory. That's what paradox means. And there are three kinds of it: falsidical, veridical, and antinomy. Okay? So, hindi ko alam kung ano yung sinasabi niya. And then, one more thing. For me kasi, intellectual laziness yung ginawa niya na cite the 10,000 religions, then that's it. Now, that's not even a good start. You should ask how many gods are there. Pero the other way is to actually define what God is. That you derive everything. Ewan ko kung narinig na ni Nico David yung Paperian falsification sa science. I'm not sure. Pero he portrayed himself as scientist, or kasi nga doon siya challenge sa science, diba? So, here's my idea, no. Sabi kasi ni Nico David, the belief in God becomes paradoxical. Kasi kung pare-parehas lang ng palang tama, then we just believe that it's all true. He concluded every religion, every God claim is true. Okay? That's what he said.
If the Blaise Pascal payoff matrix is to believe to be true, then all 10,000 religions is correct. Pero all of them have different teachings. So therefore, it's a paradoxical. Nagkagulo-gulo tayo. Bakit pa tayo kailangang maniwala kung tama naman pala tayo lahat? Bakit pa natin kailangan i-celebrate yan kung tama pala tayo lahat? So it's a paradox, mga kamatis.
Is there a paradox? Or paradoxical lang yung thinking niya? Huwag natin isama yung double counting kasi that's a problem of interpretation eh. Okay? Let's remove that. Kasi even sa objections do sa argument ni Pascal na hindi ko na kailangan i-touch dito, we'll actually give you the doctrines eh. We'll give you the doctrines kahit sa objections dun sa argument niya. So kung paradoxical, kasi may dalawang equally sound theory of gods, right? Then it becomes paradoxical, then what? We shouldn't believe it? I think that's what he's implying, right? Now, or just believe it all, right? Let's test that with the scientific theories. Kasi this is why I doubt na he intellectually handled it honestly and loyal sa framework niya na scientific method eh. Let's use the same argument against him. You know what? The belief in time is paradoxical. Therefore, I shouldn't believe it. Why? Well, there's this A theory of time and B theory of time. They oppose each other. They're equally sound. Therefore, I shouldn't believe it. That's absurd, right? Yeah, it is absurd. Because in scientific community, there are competing theories. If we apply the same standard of what Nico David said, then we shouldn't believe it all. Unless you're biased. According to him, at sabi ba nun na A theory of time lang yung totoo? So, ibig sabihin, hindi totoo yung B theory of time. That's how he argued, right? So, that's the issue na hindi niya hinandle ng tama yung assessment niya na his followers are actually relying on him to be scientific, logical, rational, sabi na natin common sense. So, dun siya nag-fail for the entire video. And then, for some reason, gusto niyang i-fit si Joyce Pring doon sa loob ng ng Pascal's wager.
Bago tayo pumunta kay Joyce Pring kasi you need to understand all of this. Kasi yung sinasabi niya, it has been debunked years and years ago. Hindi pa ako gising dito sa mundong ibabaw. Meron nang sumasagot dyan.
Kasi ang point lang ni Pascal is, you're under necessity to wager. Okay? That's his point. Either you like it or not, you have to. Because you are playing. That's it. So, yun sana na ano ko sa inyo mga kamatis yung yung points. So, do sa point naman kay Joyce Pring naman, kasi gusto niya nga ipilit yung framework ni Pascal kay Joyce Pring. Kaya the way he answered Pascal is the same way he answered Joyce Pring, which is again nga a non-starter kasi nga kay Pascal he was arguing na you are under necessity to wager if God exists or not. Kasi there's no actually way to actually prove either way. So, you're under necessity to wager sa existence ng Diyos. Okay? And everything that entails. Like, yun nga, napunta tayo sa kanino ka maglalan, kung kanino, parang okay, that God, iiwanan ko muna pala yung difference ng tatlong major para bigyan ako ng opening to actually shoot at everything I said. Anyway, if you actually believe God exists, the God we're talking about with the definition of being than wish no greater be conceived, which is you will land on the Christian God, then you will have this infinite benefit or infinite loss, right?
Kasi ito yung kumbaga, pinagmamalaki ng mga theist or yung mga naniniwala sa Panginoon or sa God, sa kung ano man yung pinaniniwalaan nila. Going back, usually yung mga theist or yung mga naniniwala sa Panginoon would always use the Pascal's wager. Kasi unang-una, Blaise Pascal yan pare. One of the top mathematician yan of his time.
To falsify the claim of Nico David, I never used it. So, ang favorite kong objection sa argument ni Pascal is the capability to actually believe voluntarily. Which is mapupunta ka sa reform thinking ng Christianity. It will force you there. Yung, can you actually voluntarily believe? Right? Let me give you an example. Kahit ano sabihin ko sa'yo to convince you, kahit magbigay pa ako sa'yo ng argument that you don't exist, you cannot voluntarily believe that you don't exist. Right? If you believe that you exist, then there's no amount of argument to actually think na you don't exist. Because your belief is you exist. You're actually thinking. Yun yung ni Descartes. So, yun yung gusto ko i-point out doon, no? Na yun yung objection na actually may ngipin for me. So, yung palang itatouch ko ngayon. Kasi nagkamali siya kay Joyce Pring kasi ang sinabi niya is paano yung mga religion. So siguro sa part 2, itatakal ko na lang yung kay Joyce Pring na arguments niya. Ngayon, tinake ko lang yung kay Pascal para kasi yun yung sinabi ko dun sa comment section na you can actually prove yung point ni Pascal a priori. Kasi hindi mo kailangan pumunta. Sabi niya kasi ang accusation niya malamang sa malamang maglalapag ka ng Bible verse or Bible scripture something. I haven't done that. So, kaya ang ano ko sa kanya sa discussion is I will prove it to him na you can do it a priori by pragmatically define God, dahil from there as an axiom you can actually derive everything else. Na I think that's what we do with science, right? So anyway,
parang it's better to think of this problem logically than use your emotions. Like for example, if a God has infinite wisdom, therefore lahat ng sasabihin niya is infallible.
Yun mga kamatis, kung sa tingin nyo nakatulong tong video na to para lalo kayong mag-isip at kung nakapag-transition kayo from kamatis atheism to atheism, then siguro pwede nyo i-consider na magbigay sa Gcash ko. Total, natulungan ko naman kayo. I mean, baka naman. Or pwede rin naman sa PayPal kung gusto nyo rin. Tumatanggap din pala ako ng dollars, ha. Malay nyo naman, gawin ko na itong full time para, di ba, makapag-focus na ako sa inyo mga kamatis atheist. Pero sana huwag nyo naman ako asahan na mag-live ako, no? Ha? Thank you. Tsaka, para makapagbigyan na lang ako ng super chat kay Nico David. O tsaka doon sa ibang mga celebrity type na kamatis atheist dito sa Pilipinas. So, yun lang. Maraming salamat. Okay, bye.
Lack of belief, sigaw ng Kamatis preacher, Tower of Babel, Debunker, Dictionary ang